When you're talking about AI governance, one of the most revealing questions you can ask is, who really gets to make the final call? Today, we're jumping into the two completely different ways that organizations answer that very question.
All right, just a quick heads up before we dive in. This is part 9 of a 15-part series, and it's a brief look at a really deep research report from Virtualization Options LLC. So naturally, we're just scratching the surface here. And of course, please remember this isn't legal advice, and it doesn't come with any kind of warranty. Okay, let's get to it.
So let's really start with that question. Think about it. When a really high-stakes AI decision is on the table, we're talking deploying a huge new system or figuring out your risk tolerance, who actually has the final say? The answer to that question tells you pretty much everything you need to know about what an organization truly values.
And at the heart of it all, you've got two competing philosophies. On one side, there's centralized control. You see this a lot in shareholder-focused companies where power is really concentrated at the top. And on the other side, you've got distributed accountability, which you'll find in customer-focused organizations where they intentionally spread that authority out.
Okay, first up, let's break down that centralized control model. This whole approach is really designed for one thing: speed. It's all about enabling quick, decisive action to jump on market changes and stay ahead of the competition.
So here's how it actually works in practice. The authority, it's held tight by senior execs and the board. The goal is to move fast, so the approval process is super streamlined to avoid any kind of delay. Now, technical experts, they provide all the analysis and info, but the ultimate decision, that rests with business leaders who are weighing all that against their commercial goals. And if there's a conflict, say between moving fast and being cautious, it's simple. The decision just gets kicked up the ladder for a final call.
The logic behind all of this is incredibly direct and clear, and this quote from the source material just nails it. Decision-making power has to line up with financial responsibility. If the board and the executives are the ones on the hook for financial results, well, it only makes sense that they have control over the decisions that get them there. Now, let's flip the script completely and look at a totally different structure, the distributed accountability model. This isn't about one person making the call. It's about building a whole system of checks and balances to make sure that a bunch of different perspectives are not just heard, but are actually part of the process.
And you can see right away, the process here looks fundamentally different. It's not a straight line to the top. It's more like a synthesis of all these critical inputs. It starts by formally bringing in the customer's point of view and the know-how of frontline employees. Then, an independent ethics committee looks at the proposal to see if it aligns with the company's values. It's only after all that, plus a technical review, that the decision finally gets to the executives. And their job is to balance their final call against all of these important considerations.
So, what does this actually look like day to day? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. When you put these two models side by side and run the same decision through them, you see just how deep these differences really go.
The contrast is just stark at every single stage. In the shareholder model, a proposal is all about ROI. Consultation, pretty much limited to legal and tech checks, and risk is defined in financial terms. Now, in the customer model, that same proposal has to think about customer impact. The consultation is broad. We're talking customers, employees, ethics boards, and risk, it includes things like damaging relationships. Even how you appeal a decision is different. One goes up the chain of command, the other goes back to a stakeholder review.
So, what's the big takeaway here? Why does any of this matter? Well, this isn't just about boring old process diagrams. It's about a fundamental choice between competing values that really shows what an organization is all about.
The centralized shareholder-focused model, it is built for speed. Plain and simple. It lets an organization be nimble, pounce on market opportunities, and just flat-out outmaneuver competitors. The number one goal is decisive, efficient action.
But then you've got the distributed, customer-focused model. It's built for something else entirely: trust and resilience. By bringing in all these different voices, it's aiming for decisions that everyone can get behind. Yeah, it might be slower, but the goal is to build strong, long-term relationships through collaboration.
And that brings us to the final question. Look, there's no single right answer here. Both models have some pretty clear strengths, but it really forces you to think. As AI gets more and more powerful and becomes a bigger part of our lives, which model is building the kind of future you want to work in? The one built for speed, or the one built for trust?